a lot is going on in the world, and I've got Rick Rosner and I've got Sasha Starr with me and everything like that. So we're gonna see what they've got on their minds and what they're talking about and everything like that. So there's a lot's going on in the world and around the world. So that's always fascinating and everything like that. So if you hold on one second, we're gonna try to get this echo off and everything in that space. But I know we've got a lot of people that are doing some great conversation and everything in that way. So I'm going to bring in Sasha, see what he's got on his mind. And also, I know that Rick's here as well. So definitely lots going on in the world. Apparently, we now know what the gift is. I didn't know what the gift is, but they said that we now know what the gift is that Iran gave and everything like that. So maybe you've heard what the gift is and what's going on in that space. But I haven't heard what the gift is. Maybe you know what the gift is and can tell us what the gift is and everything like that. But I'm gonna bring in Rick as well.
I believe the gift is 8 tankers full of oil, but there's no evidence that that actually happened.
So there's no evidence, or like, so there's oil and stuff like that. So they're saying we got some oil.
Right, but he's talking out of his butt because you can track all the tankers by satellite in the Strait of Hormuz and along the whole coast. Nobody's given him tankers full of it's more garbage. Trump also was bragging again today that he's been given this test, this mental test 3 times. My mother-in-law was suffering from Alzheimer's, and she was given this test. It's a test to see how badly your brain has been wrecked by dementia. And Trump said it's a hard test and that it has math on it. And it does. One of the questions is start with 100 and subtract 7. What do you get? You get 93. Do it again. What do you get? 93 minus 7 is 86. Do it again. 79. If you get that far, then you've passed the math part of the test. Another part of the test is draw a clock, which is draw a circle, put the numbers from 1 through 12 around the clock, and then draw a couple hands. So it's, it's not, a 2-year-old couldn't do it, but an 8-year-old could do it. I asked AI what IQ you might need to pass this test. And it said, well, it's not really an intelligence test, but anybody with average intelligence from an IQ of 90 to 109 and possibly lower than 90 could pass it. So it's not, it's ridiculous. But it's also an indication that they're afraid that Trump has some kind of
early Alzheimer's.
Some kind of decline, possibly a stroke. He's disappeared for days at a time. Usually he's always out in front of the press saying stuff. But a couple times he's disappeared for like 5 days, and people speculate that he had a stroke. And he and other people talked about how much aspirin he's taking, which is the same amount of aspirin you might take if you're recovering from a stroke, because aspirin is a blood thinner. So also he almost died of COVID back in 2020. So that there are a lot of possible reasons why they might be testing for cognitive decline. And to do it 3 times, that this wasn't like a passing concern. This is an issue that continues to exist. Also, he falls asleep.
That makes sense.
I fall asleep.
Go ahead.
I fall asleep all the time. I mean, it's crazy how much I fall asleep, but I'm not in charge of 1,700 nuclear weapons.
Right. Yeah. And there's no telling what he might even go sleepwalking and hit the wrong button or something like that. So there's no telling what he might do.
You got to do a bunch. There's, he won't get up to go pee in the night and accidentally start a nuclear war. But it is crazy that, anyway.
Well, let's hope that he wouldn't do anything that crazy. But then again, we can't really put anything past him and everything like that. Sasha, what's going on in your world, and what are you hearing? And everything that's of interest. I know the Ukrainian war is still going on, and Ukraine is definitely holding its own, even though they are saying that there's a lot of additional bombing. I guess because Russia feels that the rest of the world and Trump is distracted, so I guess they're bombing more of the cities of Ukraine. But I also understand that Ukraine is bombing more of the cities of Russia. So, what are you hearing about how the war is going?
Going slowly for
I got to
Ukrainians.
get closer to the mic.
Ukrainians are getting more and more ground, and but they are not starting some incredible offensive actions because they don't want to risk lives of their soldiers. So they're taking very slowly, very methodically. So they keep killing Russians, which is good. And that's about it. And Trump, in my opinion, completely lost interest to this war because there's no geschäft, there's no money for him. So what is he gonna do there? There's no money, absolutely, because what he thought about the frozen Russian assets.
So I looked up just Geschäft, and I think I understand it, but I'm not sure. It's what's just Geschäft diplomacy or
Okay, first of all, you know what's diplomacy. Now, let's talk about what's Geschäft. Geschäft in German means business, where one side is trying to make some money, and sometimes both sides are trying to make some money. So Geschäft is something that deals primarily with the money, profits, or anything of that nature. Okay? So Geschäft diplomacy, it means making money through diplomatic means. So you camouflage some kind of arrangement and show it as a diplomacy. And because of the diplomacy, we did this, and that, and that. And that covers the nature of transaction where is money changing hands. That's what it is.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Trump
that makes
just
a lot of sense.
announced that Trump's just announced that he's pausing bombing, I think, until April 6th for the next 10 days or so. Though
Now, is he doing it for religious reasons? Because April, that's around the time of Easter. Because so maybe he's doing it for
I think he
religious
said
reasons.
to allow give time for negotiation. I don't know. It might also be that we're running out of the right kind of missiles. Also, it might be that we need more time to get more troops into the area. Also, it could be he just says whatever the fuck pops out of his mouth, and he may change his mind tomorrow.
No, because I was watching a video, and I was watching a video on YouTube that was actually hilarious because they were showing how in one day he said contradictory things like about 15 or 20 things. There was no whole notion of there's a ceasefire, there's not a ceasefire, there is a ceasefire, there's not a ceasefire. So the commentators were teasing him because they did like a count, and I want to say it was close to 15 or 20 that they found just in a 1 day time where he changed his mind about 10 to 15 times and gave, as you just said, contradictory evidence. You know, there's another thing that's going on today, and we didn't talk about it this morning, but I was wondering what you're hearing about it, because some people are saying that maybe he'll go back to his country, even though he was apprehended for his criminal activities. But the Maduro trial was going on today. So I understand that he was going to the courts in New York, and I also understand that he was still pleading non-guilty and everything like that. So have you, one of you, heard anything about where we are with the Maduro trial? Because both he and his wife were supposed to be in court today.
I just saw a courtroom sketch of him in court, and I don't know what happened. So, you know, I assume that. So, judge rejects request to dismiss drug trafficking charges against Maduro. So he
Because he was
argued
trying to get the charges.
So he's not getting off so easy. We'll see if they can make. Yeah,
because the other thing that I heard that he was trying to do is he was trying to get his country mate, which is the vice president, to let him use the money of Venezuela for his defense fund. So I thought that was kind of unusual. But hey, if he can pull it off, maybe he can pull it off. But apparently he was trying to get Mr. Rodriguez to let him use some of the money from his country or his former country to mount his defense.
Yeah, I don't know.
don't believe for a moment that there will be anything what we call fair trial. There will be no fair trial. It
Not a
will
fair
be-
trial.
No, there will be no fair.
Okay.
They will lock him up. Or maybe they could even let him go because today he doesn't represent any interest or for Venezuela or for anybody. So maybe they will ship him to Moscow and to spend his
All right. So my former boss briefly
Maybe you could do
trended
that, but just really quickly, I'm sorry, just really quickly.
Go ahead.
What trended briefly?
My
No, I was
former
going to
boss,
say, because
Jimmy
I'm trying to
Kimmel-
remember his.
Jimmy Kimmel briefly trended on X because last night I guess he made fun of the new head of the Department of Homeland Security, Markwayne Mullen, for having been a plumber. The plumber is now in charge of DHS. And then Fox News picked it up and said, what does elitist, rich Hollywood guy, Jimmy Kimmel, have against like a working man like Markwayne Mullen, which kind of misses the point. So Markwayne Mullen has, like his predecessor, has zero law enforcement experience, terrorism experience. And though he did, now Markwayne Mullen did supervise a bunch of people when he ran a plumbing company. He started with 6 people and he grew the plumbing company to 120. Now, how many people do you think are in the Department of Homeland Security?
1,000, not tens of thousands. So yeah, it's going to be much more than he had to.
Wow. 250,000, 260,000 people, which is so it's running a federal agency that's bigger than most American cities. It's not the same as running a plumbing company. Nothing against plumbers.
No, nothing against plumbers. I actually know that there's a rapper here in Durham that was famous in New York because he was a member of the Jungle Brothers, and he runs a plumbing company. I don't know if he runs it, but he works in a plumbing company. So if you get plumbing work done in North Carolina, you may see Mike of the Jungle Brothers coming and doing your work. And maybe in that case, you might have seen him come in and do the work, but he was a supervisor. I was getting ready to ask both of y'all, because you're talking about Maduro. Whatever happened to, because I can't remember. I know he went to jail, just like they're trying to get Maduro to go to jail. But did Noriega die in prison, or what happened with Noriega? Because this sounds like a very similar case to Noriega, but I don't remember from history, even though I do try to study history, what happened to Noriega. Do either one of you remember what eventually happened?
Yes, he died. In 2017.
In prison?
It doesn't look like it. Hold on, let's see. And we're getting feedback.
I know we got a little bit of feedback last time from Sasha, and it could be mine as well. But I'll try to go on mute whenever I'm not talking.
He was extradited back to Panama,
Right.
where he remained in prison, and then he got moved to a hospital because of blood pressure and a brain hemorrhage.
So to Sasha's point,
it's not anyway, I was quiet for the last 2 minutes, and the background was still coming out.
Anyway, he went back and forth for years between the hospital and prison until he finally died in the hospital at the age of 83.
yeah, so he was up there in age and everything like that. But I thought that he had died in prison. But they may do something similar with Maduro. That may be one of the deals, is that eventually they may send him back to Venezuela with the understanding that he can't run the government, and put him in a Venezuelan prison. Because I think that was one of the terms that they were trying to get, was for him to serve out his terms in his home country and everything like that. So that could be one of the arrangements that they're trying to put together. But I don't know that for a fact. But that could be something that they're trying to do. What else are you seeing on Drudge? Tell us what you got on Drudge politically and everything like that. Right.
just that people are the TSA, the people who aren't getting paid to guard the airports are annoyed at ICE because ICE, it turns out, when you go to TSA, you don't know how much training they've had. They tell you to take off your shoes, put your laptop in in one of those slider bins and stuff. Turns out it takes 6 months of training to be a TSA agent. And ICE has had none of that training. So ICE shows up and they have nothing to do because they haven't been trained. So TSA agents are saying, not only are they getting paid and getting paid a better salary than we get paid when we get paid, but they're just standing around holding coffee cups and hanging out in the break room, microwaving their lunch. They're not really much help because they lack the training. And they haven't reduced the wait times at airports. And tomorrow is the next pay date. The next date, the TSA is going to miss a paycheck because Congress hasn't fixed it. And now Congress is going on I think a 2-week Easter break. So they'll probably miss the paycheck after that.
Yeah, because that means that they're going to, because this week's paycheck, because it's like the pay cycle that I'm on. So the next pay cycle should be the week after Easter, which would be like if they're getting them on Friday, that they would be like around the 13th or something like that. So yeah, they may be going all the way close to Mother's Day before they actually get paid. Because I understand they've missed multiple months of pay and everything like that. So, and they might be missing more. And to your point, I know I was watching some of our local news here in North Carolina, and people are trying to roll with the punches, but they are definitely having long waits. I heard one lady, they've said she had waited just at the TSA checkpoint for like about 3 or 4 hours and everything like that. So yeah, there's some very long waits that people are trying to maneuver and find out how they can deal with these. And some people are doing kind of what Jacoby was talking about earlier. They are still opting to either jump in their car or jump in their trains because the plane is just taking too long to go through the process. So depending on where they're trying to go, they're opting to jump in another form of transportation. So
if you've got a trip that's under 500 miles, say LA to San Francisco, LA to Vegas, frickin' Albuquerque to Phoenix even, maybe get in your car, because given the wait times at the airport, it might take less time to just drive. And when you get there, you don't have to rent a car.
Don't have to rent a car at all. So you just it'll be a win-win situation on all into that space. I know we've been talking a lot about what's going on in the U.S. and everything like that, and of course the war spaces. But are you hearing any news in Drudge about either any of the African or Asian nations? Because I do know that Pakistan and Afghanistan, I think, were still in a fight, and we haven't been talking about that all that much and everything. And I know that there have been some African continents, including I want to say Nigeria, that have been in conflicts as well. So I just wondering what other hotspots are in the world other than the two that we've been talking about, and a lot of the other media. So it's not just us who've been talking about.
And yeah, there was a ceasefire in Afghanistan versus Pakistan. That's over. They're fighting again. They paused for, how do you say it? Eid, the holiday. Right. So anyway, that's over, and they're fighting again. So I don't know what they're fighting about. I guess they're probably fighting about territory.
I think it's territory, and I think it's also like rights to certain things like minerals and things like that. So I think it's a combination of things. Just like a lot of people think that the war in the Middle East is just as much about territories like the Strait of Hormuz as it is about having access to material, whether that's oil or coal or whatever other things that people might be wanting to get that are material.
I just Googled it. They have a huge, long border. They have a border that looks like it's probably more than 1,000 miles long. The entire southern border of Afghanistan is almost the entire northern border of Pakistan. So there's a lot of land to fight over. Yeah,
a whole lot of land to fight over and everything like that. So it could be just a fight over the land and things like that. And then, of course, now I guess I did see that there was a Republican that I guess is trying to send a warning to Trump because I guess they're concerned about his damaging effects to the midterm. So it was like a Republican leader. I don't think it was Elon Musk, but it was another Republican leader. And I just saw the headline go by, but they were basically saying that they were sending him a warning. So basically, I guess they're trying to tell him that to stop the shenanigans.
Well, it feels weird in America right now. We're waiting for all these shoes to drop, where Trump is under pressure because he's going to lose control of Congress in the midterms, and also because of the Epstein files. There are 3 million documents that have yet to be released, and so Trump is under pressure. And when Trump is under pressure, he does crazy crap. This war is just a crazy move that for bad reasons I mean that work against him. It's unwinnable under current conditions, and it's just going to make him less popular. So people are worried, what's he going to do next? How badly is he going to screw with the elections? How bad is inflation going to get? How bad is unemployment going to get? Trump has created 0 new jobs in the past year, and Trump's approval steadily drops. What's he going to do about that? In reaction to that, it's a weird time. It's been a weird time since we reelected him. He's down to 40% approval, down from 52% approval when he took office. When he dropped, he's going to drop into the 30s at some point in the next month or two.
Yeah, he's definitely going to drop in that percentage and everything.
The last time he was in the 30s was after he tried to overthrow the 2020 election.
Wow. So, yeah, he tried to overthrow that. I think Jacoby's joining this as well. So we'll see what he's got on his mind and everything like that. Speaking of weird conversations and everything like that, like we were talking about earlier and everything, I did see where one of those talk show hosts is a fan of Harry Potter, and they're actually going to write the script for Harry Potter. I think it might be Stephen Colbert or one of those people, but he's big time.
He's writing the next Hobbit/Lord of the Rings movie.
Hobbit. Right, the Lord of the Rings.
And it turns out
because apparently he's a big fan, and he just is like.
Well, he's a scholar. He knows. He's like one of those guys who's obsessively studied everything that Tolkien wrote. So here's the deal: that people think that late night hosts are just guys who get up there and just talk. But no, it takes it. The late night host is one of. We're getting so much feedback here.
Yeah, I'll go back off.
Okay, so late night hosts, it's an incredibly demanding job. Now, it's not a real serious job because, yeah, you're just talking to people and you're telling jokes. But the amount of expertise it takes to do a good job at that, like my former boss, Kimmel, is insanely smart. It was ridiculous to work for him because nobody wants a boss who's that smart. You can't get away with anything. Like any bullshit that you try to pitch in a meeting, he'll be like tippity tap on the keyboard because he's super fast at searching out it. Kimmel's a genius. He just happens to be a regular guy genius. Ditto for Colbert, I assume. He's not just a guy who talks on TV. He's a writer. He's a Tolkien scholar. And he knows more about Tolkien than probably all, but as much as the top 6 people in the world about it. So yeah, he's the right guy to write the frickin' movie.
Yeah, it sounds like he's the right guy to write the movie and everything like that. So No doubt about that and everything like that. Jacoby, I see you're out and about, cruising the wonderful streets of this area and everything along those lines. You forgot to tell me, I'm just going to tease everybody, that it was like scorching out there because I actually ran an errand as I was planning to do this afternoon, and it was about just a few mile errand, but that walk was a little bit toasty. So you should have given me a heads up that it was hot out there because there's definitely no joke out there for early March and everything like that. So I know you're in the air conditioned car, but yeah, it's a little warm out there, Jacoby. So what's on your mind? Because we've just been talking about a little bit of everything, as you can tell, including token and this lovely gift that Trump got and everything like that. But anything that's on your mind, you can share it as we're just doing some general conversations around world politics. Sasha was here earlier as well, and he shared a little bit of his thoughts. So anything that's on your mind that you're hearing about today?
Oh, I didn't know what the gift was. They announced it. I think you got feedback coming in on your
I think
side.
they said it was oil. Yeah, I think I'm going to go on mute, but I think that Rick said before I go on mute that it was a oil, and that he's got probably personal oil to him. But Rick can explain that to you better than I can because I didn't hear what it was, but I know he's brought it up what it was.
I saw an X that Trump claimed that Iran has given us 8 tankers full of oil, and then I saw this debunked that Iran has done no such thing.
Whenever Trump speaks, he's lying. I mean, Iran never gave him a gift. He just tried to make that up to make it sound. And what's worse, what's really ridiculous about even saying that Iran gave him a gift, if you think about it, is that he started with Iran as the state sponsor of terror. I mean, all these multiple justifications and attempts to justify what he did going to war. But he came up with all these. Oh, they've killed Americans for 47 years. They're state sponsored terrorism. They don't deserve nuclear weapons and all this, and they're bad, and so on and so forth. But hey, they got me a gift. They're good people now. That is just ridiculous to throw that in there how he did. So yeah, they didn't get him a gift. They didn't get him anything. I also thought, did you see there were, Mark, you gotta go back on mute. Oh, but did you see there were 3 nations that voted against the UN resolution to the slavery resolution?
Yeah, the some resolution to prohibit or disapprove of slavery, and the 3 countries voted against it out of 130 voting. Were U.S., Israel, and Afghanistan? What was the third?
Argentina.
So, I mean, the UN is toothless, right? So you can vote for and against this thing, but why would you vote against? Why would you be so dickish to vote against?
And I think, and that's the issue, is that the voting against it falls in line with what is happening. The whitewashing of Black history, the erasure of the history dealing with the LGBTQIA community, the erasure of the history around women, the erasure of history around African Americans, so on and so forth. So yeah, it falls in line with what this administration is doing. Symbolically, all they had to do was vote for it, and then it wouldn't have been a story. Now it's a story because it's sitting exactly where people don't want to be. Hence the reason why this administration right now, it's tough for MAGA to justify particular things. They keep deflecting and going every other way out the window to try and justify and celebrate this president in some way. And you saw that even worse, the GOP, the Republican Party created a makeshift award to give to Trump.
Yeah, for what? It was not clear to me immediately, but yeah, they gave him an award.
Yeah, they made an award to make their leader happy. That's the sad state of affairs that we're at right now.
Not an award not related to anything, really. Just we're going to give him an award. So, but
Exactly.
the deal is, it appears there's a lot of evidence that Trump is somewhat unmoored. We don't know if it's mentally unmoored or if he's just so freaking out about the various pressures on him that he's acting all crazy. We don't know if his brain is turning to pudding or if he's just freaking out. But the deal is, if you want to look back at history, has there ever been a pudding-brained president? And in 1919, we had one for 17 months. In 1919, Woodrow Wilson had a stroke that messed him up. He was confined to bed for I think the rest of his life. And they tried to keep it secret for the remaining 17 months of his presidency. His wife ran things. People would come talk to his wife, and she'd go, well, let me just go check with my husband who's resting. And this went on for almost a year and a half. Now, with Trump, you can't do that because Trump's out in front of everybody all the time. He had this cabinet meeting, was it earlier today, where he was falling asleep? So people can see that he's not the most alert guy, the most not confused guy, it's weird how we're kind of failing to deal with it or acknowledge it, except for a bunch of loud lunatics on Twitter yelling about it. Jake Tapper was tore down Biden, and a bunch of people ripped on Biden, particularly after he was not forceful during that presidential debate, and eventually drove Biden out of the race for re-election. But people on the left are very annoyed that there's more evidence.
Yep, they're very annoyed they're very annoyed and everything like that. I'm going to go back on mute. The other thing I was going to mention just really quickly, because I mentioned it to Toby just offline after our news show, is apparently in an effort to placate or Trump and everything, the IOC is not going to allow trans athletes to compete in the coming Summer Olympics where you are in LA. So that just came out. I think it was either earlier today or yesterday, and everything like that.
I don't think they could have competed. It's like one of these laws on top of a law where you can't compete in the games. It was already prohibited, but needed.
So the law for the IOC, and there actually Olympic rules around it. The actual official law is based on your testosterone levels, and that was installed. And actually, Caster Cinema, the woman out of Jamaica, it may have been, she got hit with having higher testosterone levels. However, she's still she's a woman, but she got hit with that, and there was a lawsuit around the whole Caster Cinema stuff. But yes, there's always been a law in the IOC dealing with it. And hence the reason why transgender individuals, men and women, can compete in the Olympics if they were to make it based on their competitiveness and so on and so forth. And they had to reach those testosterone levels to be able to compete. But this is a complete, I guess, this is a way to placate Trump and the base. Because soccer did what they did. FIFA made Trump a big old medal, made him a peace medal, and that's how they're actually able to do stuff. And I'm sure the IOC, had they wouldn't even have to do the transgender thing. They could have just given that man a peace medal or whatever, and he would have been happy. He'd have been giddy. Because you're right, Rick. I mean, his brain is mush. And Jake Tapper won't come and write won't write about it right now because of the fact the way that MAGA acts. MAGA is very, very violent in their actions and really does attack. They are very, very easily triggered if you say anything about Trump and so on and so forth. And this is why, for example, I think it was Justice, was it Alito or somebody was pointing out, there were a couple of judges pointing out how many death threats they get when they vote against things that Trump is trying to put out there. It's just we're in a bad state, and it's this administration and Trump. And when you were talking about in the history, what was it, Calvin Coolidge or whomever?
Wilson,
Woodrow Wilson, when his brain was mush and the wife was running things. Well, you saw that Melania Trump did that
which made no sense.
The future of AI now she's an AI expert and she walks out with a robot. Yeah, it's crazy and chaotic, and but people are dealing with it. So people have learned you give him awards, especially in gold ones. You make a thing and you cover it with gold. And you praise him like crazy. In a cabinet meeting, it was like people praise him, like they go around the table and say how great Trump is. So at this last cabinet meeting, somebody praised, I forget who it was. It might have been Bondi followed by somebody else. And they kissed his ass wildly, and the next person said, "Oh yeah, watch this," which was like, "Oh yeah, you think you kissed his ass? I am going to kick your ass at kissing his ass," which is like it's so nutty.
But that's where we are right now, and that's the sad part. And it's just so ridiculous watching it. And there's actually a content creator. Actually, I think she also does news articles as well. But I think she does a fabulous job, because what she does is she takes the transcripts of what Trump says, and I mean, not actually the transcripts that they put out, because they take away a lot of the stuff, but she takes the actual words that Trump says on the screen and she reads them where, with no, just reads the words straight, and you have to sit there and listen to the way he sounds. And it is completely nutty if you listen to it. It's wild, but they think that he's a brilliant man. And MAGA repeats everything that he says and then says, well, he meant to say, or, hey, that's not what he was saying. No, he said that. You said that this man says what's on his mind and means what he says, but now you give me something. But no, if you ever get a chance, I'll try and send you one of them. It's hilarious, Rick.
So, it's hard to speak off the cuff. You and I, we've been doing this for years now. Mark is trained in radio, and even with all the practice we get, we occasionally, not more than occasionally, we make verbal stumbles. We interrupt ourselves. We state a fact wrong that's wrong. But with Trump, it's you make allowances for people in public figures. What the people are going to misspeak occasionally, but with Trump, it's all gobbledygook all the time. He still has the ability he'll go to a rally and he can speak for 2 hours, and a lot of the sentences he says on their own make a kind of sense, but taken as a whole, it's just a wild mess.
Yep. So yeah, it's just unreal that we are in this position now, and that part of our society sees this man as a genius and will swear by every word. But then when you actually, if you just take a step back, if you put his words in somebody else's mouth, and I mean, even when you tell MAGA or some of the people in MAGA, hey, this is, can you believe Joe Biden said this? They flip out, but then you say, oops, it was actually Trump. It's a complete shift. And they'll go, oh, well, I understand it now. No, you didn't understand it when you thought it was Biden. You can't understand it now that you know it's Trump. So yeah. It's so wild. And that also goes into the where people say it's a cult, because that is a cult-like mentality.
So I'm just looking at Drudge. Southwest Airlines has rescinded its if you're too big for one seat, you can have 2 seats when you fly. Now they're charging you for a second seat if you don't fit in their seats. And the seats are not big. Seats are 17 inches across. You don't have to be that big to overflow your frickin' seat.
Well, I think they're doing that not because of the extra seat piece. I think they're doing that because gas prices are going up.
Probably, I mean, you got to do something. You like airlines, I assume, are losing money on flights because they sold. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say I saw there was a interview with one of, I think it was American. Who owns is United own? Does United own American, or is it American owns United? One of them. It's one of the bigger airlines.
Okay.
And they were saying that yes, they're going to have to look at raising prices due to the fact that gas prices are so high. And I mean, that's horrible. Not only are you going to have to wait 4 hours for a flight, but now it's 4 hours plus an extra $100 or so on that flight, because you've got to be able to pay for the gasoline.
International flights on United, they've added $400, and this was a couple of weeks ago. It might become more.
Yep, I mean it probably will, because again, it's a matter of covering that cost, and if you can't cover that cost, I mean, these people like to make money; they don't like to lose money.
No, and it will lead to airlines playing all sorts of games where, under normal conditions, an airplane can be 2/3 full and they can still make a profit. That's not the case now, and so they're going to start claiming mechanical problems, scheduling problems. They will cancel flights so they can get rid of the money losing flights, cram everybody onto a flight that's 100% full.
And the crazy part now, if you think about not only the gas prices going up, and the airlines are already talking about raising ticket sales because of the gas prices. But remember, TSA is another issue. TSA is already talking about closing down airports. Now, if you close down airports, that means that those airlines are going to lose a ton of money from particular airports. And again, that means ticket prices are just going to have to go up higher to cover the cost of the loss of inventory or loss of ticket sales from a particular airport, because some people are just not going to fly.
So here's an idea. So we were talking about driving instead of flying. There's another thing. If you're in like Seattle, maybe you don't fly out of Seattle. Maybe you take a bus to Vancouver and fly out of Vancouver and save the hell at the U.S. airport. You know, ditto for if you live in Buffalo, New York, you cross the border into Canada and you take a flight out of Canada.
Well, what's interesting is, I mean, there's not only that piece, but then if you think about the way the gas prices are so high now, that's pumped a ton of money into EV sales. Remember, the EV sales started slumping because of the removal of the subsidies that were there in terms of renewable energies and everything else. So this administration tore up that. Well, now EV sales are going to start looking higher. I know China itself, because they invested a ton of money in EVs, a ton of money in renewables, because, you know, from solar power and everything else. That means their EV sales are now going to go a lot higher due to the fact the oil prices or oil barrels are so high, and that means gas prices are high. So everything about this whole war and everything is just
you know who that helps China, because China, if it's not already, will be the world leader in cheap EVs, cheap, nice EVs. If you live in China, you can get a pretty deluxe EV for like 20 grand, right? And so now those are being kept out of the US market so far. But at some point, I just asked AI, in the future, China will break into the US market. And good luck, Ford and other domestic manufacturers.
Hey,
Hey, right
Rick,
now the China's not in the US market. Tesla's in every market. Right
right.
now, BYD is the number one EV maker. That's knocked off Tesla. So if BYD or any of the other Chinese makers definitely make it into the US market, yeah, that's gonna hurt Tesla bad. That's gonna hurt every car dealer bad. It'll help the consumer because you have cheaper cars. But yeah, it's gonna
Right.
help. It's gonna hurt a lot of people.
Well, speaking of things that might hurt,
Oh, frozen.
Well,
debt that we're in, that we always talk about on the economic show, but apparently McMahon wasn't too.
Sorry, you're in and out.
yeah, Mark. We don't know what it is you're saying.
All right, here's another story.
Thousand borrowers are good.
Rick, because I like to geek out on science, and I know you like to geek out on science too while Mark is in and out. I'm trying to figure something out. Oh yeah, you just popped back now.
Okay.
But I'm trying to figure something out, Rick.
Okay.
Because in my mind, I'm trying to picture it, and I think it's a fascinating way to look at space. So since we know that we're always moving, I mean, we're not, even though on Earth it feels like you're standing still. No, we're moving. But other galaxies are moving away, and other galaxies are moving towards us.
Yeah.
And I mean, a couple of thoughts. For example, we know light travels, it takes millions of years to get from Alpha Centauri to here. Thousands of years.
Light takes four years, but to get any kind of actual material object from here to Alpha Centauri would take, maybe 1,000 years if we had some new technology.
So if you think about how far some of these stars are away, and think about that is the past. We don't know if it's the end of that star's life, what has ever happened, if that star is there. We know it's not there where it is right now, but is that star even there? Has it been, like Betelgeuse is supposed to, not Betelgeuse, there's a star that's supposed to go supernova at some point. It's near Orion's belt. That's supposed to explode at some point, but we don't know when that's going to happen. And when it explodes, it's going to get brighter than the moon. But what we know is that that's already happened, but we don't know when we're going to get the light from it because we don't know exactly when it happened.
Yeah.
So thinking about that and the speed of light. So if we're moving away from a galaxy, we see a galaxy. We're moving away from that galaxy. If that galaxy were standing still at half of the speed of light, but say that galaxy is moving away from us at half of the speed of light, would that light from that galaxy always be in our view?
No, I mean, people talk, there's a horizon where there is stuff in the universe that is moving away from us at a sufficient speed that the light still hasn't caught up. But the universe, I believe the universe is made out of information. So a way of looking at the universe is the shit way over, the most distant galaxy we can see, thanks to modern telescope technology. The light from that galaxy took 13.2 billion years to get to us. So we're seeing what the galaxy was like 13 billion years ago.
Well, if you think about it, at that one point though, because, if we were at the same location as that light, where that light originated from 13 billion years ago, what would we see? We wouldn't see what the stars that are out there today.
No, well, it depends on if you believe in the straight up Big Bang. So the Big Bang theory has been the dominant theory for 60 years, but over the past 60 years, there are a bunch of observations of the universe that say it can't be exactly like that. For instance, there's more gold in the universe than there should be because it's very hard to make gold. You need either a collision between two neutron stars or a supernova, and those are rare. And so we look at the amount of gold in the universe and we're like, wait, there's too much gold given the age of the universe. So the universe may not be as straightforward as there was an explosion 13.8 billion years ago. There might be other stuff going on.
And that's what I'm thinking is like, I mean, that's the fun part about space is that, you know, at that one point, you know, that 13 billion light years away point, that was the supposed start.
Well, if the Big Bang is 100% true as is, then if you were at the point in time that we see of that early galaxy, at that point, the universe was only 300 million years old. So you'd see a super hot, probably darkish universe because there hadn't been enough time yet for a lot of stars to form.
Or would there be, I mean, so what would a super hot universe be? What about the other stars? Because would there be other stars before the Big Bang?
Well, I guess the question I've got to ask most of y'all, we should still go a little bit over and everything like that, is since y'all are geeking out on science fiction and science and everything like that. So I guess technically speaking, if people are fans of Star Trek and Star Wars, they are actually in like the year 5000, because if they traveled that far away, then they're not actually.
Well, Star Wars is in a whole other galaxy, far, far away, a long time ago.
Yep.
So Star Wars is a whole different thing. Star Trek, I think, begins in the year like the 23rd century, like the 2200s, and by the time you get to Captain Kirk, it's probably 2300 and something, 2000, the year 23. So it's a couple 300 years in the future.
Right.
But there's no hope for those shows turning true unless we can figure out how to travel faster than light. And there's no evidence of us being able to do that.
Right.
And then
has been working on warp technology.
But to warp
shows,
space,
like 2 or 3 years ago.
Warp technology wouldn't even get you faster than the speed of light.
You'd have to set it to build warp technology. You would have to do a particular kind of a black hole. You'd have to make a black-ish structure in one place, then you'd have to build another one the other place, and you'd still have to get there with conventional technology. And then maybe if your Stargate worked, people in the future could maybe save some years by popping into one hole and popping out of the other. But the forces that you'd have to go through, would tear you apart. It's called spaghettification. But as you get to a black hole,
but isn't that the theory that science fiction people and science have about the pyramids? I mean, I don't believe it necessarily, but the theory is that it was actually done by aliens that were coming from like the year 3000.
It's a lot easier to put giant stone slabs on logs and get a bunch of enslaved people to push to roll the logs into place. And a bunch of people probably get killed in the process. It's a lot easier to build the frickin' pyramids than it is to go faster than the speed of light.
Right.
Yep. And the cool part about the event horizon right there when you're in that spaghettification area, stuff is moving so fast. You're standing in one spot looking straight ahead, and when you're looking straight ahead, you're seeing the back of your head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the light is so curved. The path of light is so curved there's so much gravity that it curves space. It curves the straight line that light travels in enough that you could hold a flashlight and assuming you could stand on the surface of, there is no surface, but say you're standing on a neutron star, the light would be curved around the neutron star and would light up the back of your head.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's
but
really
there's no way that the force to curve light that much would squash you down to less than a millimeter thick. So,
hey, Rick, because you have that privilege of being a member of Mint and everything like that, and everybody's looking for the perfect bracket, and apparently there is a kid, because I was hearing this on the news earlier. I think he's like 10 or 11, and so far he's got the only perfect bracket, because that's like next to impossible. Nobody ever gets
that's crazy.
But they said,
kid.
Oh,
they said that he's totally been guessing, because what I heard is that he has no methodology.
There have been 36 games so far.
Right.
The play-in games and then 32 other games. That's amazingly impossible.
And so far, he's got them all right, and he's got the only perfect bracket, because, like I said, this never happens but so far, and he's still got other games to go, but so far he's got the only perfect bracket. And I heard one of the news anchors, I guess, interviewed him, and he basically said that he knows very little about the game, and he might be even guessing based on the colors or something
there
else.
are 31 more games to go.
Right.
So there's a betting company that says you get a perfect bracket, and we will give you $1 billion.
Yeah, though he would have.
The only reason they can say that is because the odds against it are, I don't know, like a quadrillion to 1.
Like I said, and he's the last one remaining for this year, so he's got the only perfect bracket left so far. So, like I said, I heard this on one of the.
It's just so unlikely that what you need for somebody to have a perfect bracket is for the favorites to win just about every game. It's because some people, that's what I do. I just pick the favorites when I'm in a bracket and just hope that the seeding was amazingly accurate. But even that is almost impossible.
That's what they call
it. Because when a one,
because that's what they call
but when a 1 seed plays a 16 seed, I don't know that a 16 seed has ever beat a 1 seed, right? But you also have the 8 playing the 9. And then in the second round, you got the 4 playing the 5. And those are going to inherently be close games. And there's no reason for an 8 seed to be significantly better than a 9 seed. So, yeah, it's you could probably, if you played March Madness for, I don't know, 100,000 years, maybe somebody would have a perfect bracket.
And that's what they're trying to get, the perfect bracket eventually. But like I said, this kid is apparently amazing and everything like that. But I don't think he's going to get either, to your point, because like St. John's might knock off Duke. And I'm surprised because they've already had one.
So let's look at this kid. All right. So he's an 8th grader from Pittsburgh. Right. He's got the perfect women's bracket.
I think he's got the perfect bracket for both so far.
Well, no, there's no freaking way. There's no way, because that would be insanely improbable. So wait a second. Wait a minute. Wait. Is this even from this year?
Yeah.
They say that he's correctly picked the first 48 games.
Yeah, that would be that would be both rounds.
No, it's all women's games. I didn't know that they've played 48 games so far.
I don't think they have played 48.
That's insanely improbable. And so
I had heard that he had picked it for both men and women, but I heard this morning. But they said that he had picked for both, and that would make sense for 48 games. By now, both men and women would have played 48 games. But that's what I heard.
So,
but like I said, that was in the news this morning. I think it was that same kid, because I know he's a kid.
So no, he doesn't have like the longest run of perfect games before. They've got this year somebody for the men's bracket somebody had a streak of 43 correct picks. I think on the men's side that got busted. So anyway, for this kid to go 48-0 with only 15 more games to play, I guess they don't count the play-in games.
I don't think they count the play-in games.
But that kid has, one of the best shots in history. Before this, in 2019, somebody correctly guessed the outcome of the first 49 games. So which is better than I thought people would do.
Yeah, because I think the total is like 60-something games by the time.
It's 60. You start with 64 teams. You play 63 games.
Yeah, I thought it was like 63 games total.
So this kid is at 48, and now I have to start following him. He's only got 15 more games to go.
Yeah, because that's what it is. And you're right. It says as of March 26, 2006, the only remaining perfect bracket in the major ESPN's Women Tournament Challenge belongs to the 14-year-old eighth grader from Pittsburgh named Otto Schellheimer, who correctly picked the and you're right. It says the 26. I knew there was an upset. So all the perfect brackets busted by the second round. So yeah, it's only the women's and everything like that. It's because it says the last perfect bracket in the ESPN men's elimination was eliminated in the second round following Tennessee's win over Virginia. So a 6 beating a 3. So and that lasted until the 44th game. The final bracket lasted until the 44th game.
So assuming that each game has a 50-50 chance, he's got one chance in 32,000. Now, his chances are actually better than that because the favorites are going to win a lot of these games.
Yes, it says 1 in 41.2 million is the odds. The eighth grader is all alone with a perfect bracket. So,
okay, that's for getting as far as he did. Now, right. For the rest of it, he's probably got one chance in 2,000.
Right.
So I hope he gets closer. I hope he wins the next 5. Even just the next 5 games would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be really amazing. Because there are a couple of games that could see upsets in the women's bracket as well. Because like I said, I'm trying to see what is going on the women's side. The NCAA found 235 perfect brackets among the major contests going into Monday. When the last game of the second round were played, the number fell to 7 when number 10 seed Virginia beat second seeded Iowa in double overtime. And when number 6 seed Notre Dame knocked off third seeded Ohio State, he was the last one left. So it was down to 7, then it was down to just him after the second upset, because both of those are lower seeds beating a higher seed. And he said the first game he watched of March Madness was on Monday. He came home and I was like, I'll check and see how my women's bracket is doing. Then I watched Virginia beat Iowa, and that was pretty cool. And then I watched Notre Dame. So the best start in the ESPN women's competition is 57 correct picks, which happened last year. To beat that, he would need to win each of the Sweet 16 games on Friday and Saturday to reach 56-0, and then win the first 2 games in the Elite 8 starting Sunday. Though at that point, why just not win them all? So, like I said, he still got a chance to go and win them all, because it sounds like that would be what final 2 games would be 58-0. So
he needs to win the next 2 games to break the all-time record, I think.
That's it, because he's sticking with the favorites through the Sweet 16, but then he's going out on a mighty long limb. He's predicting that number 3 seed TSU will beat Virginia on Saturday night, then knock off number 1 seed South Carolina. So he's predicting TCU to beat Virginia and then beat Dawn Staley, which is the 3-time defending champion. So he's going out on a little bit of a limb on that one and everything. Just a quick question, and we'll hit this button and get us on out of here and everything. What is your thoughts about, and this is a StreamYard question, because apparently they've changed their logo and everything. So Puddles, which is their logo, is this duck that you see on the corner. So I don't know if you can see
that duck. Yes.
So it's a different duck than they used to have before. So they've changed their logo, and it's a different look for the duck, because now the duck has headphones, and apparently their logo is named Puddles, which I just found out earlier.
All right, I like him. Okay. All right.
He looks fairly cool. I like a duck with headphones.
Okay.
Yeah, they were rolling out some new branding, so I just wondered what people thought of their new branding, because that's their new branding. But yeah, duck with headphones is cool. Like I said, I didn't even know that the duck had a name, because I just thought of him as the StreamYard duck when I was reading about their new branding.
I didn't know there was a duck associated with anything.
Yeah, he's been associated with StreamYard since StreamYard started. So I've always known the Duck ever since I first got involved with StreamYard, which is
Okay.
true.
Well, I know it's a good product. It's able to handle a lot of traffic.
Right.
6 people yelling at once, and it works pretty well. People like I'm using a crappy old computer, and it's okay with that. So, all right, I will see you tomorrow morning.
I'll see you tomorrow morning. I'm going to get out on the here. I'm going to hit that lovely button where we see our video and everything like that. They did add, but not on everybody's account, because I tried it on the online dinner parties. They did add widgets, so we can now do polls, but I don't know when they're going to move it to StreamYard. And I haven't seen whether Nick's got it on his account.
Well,
but
polls
I tried it
would be good, except that we might find out that only 2 people are watching us.
That's true, because I just tried it and I haven't seen what my results were, but I did try it because it's under what they call widgets, and I don't see widgets in this one. But yeah, they have this poll feature.
Okay. All right.
All right. Talk to you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Bye.
Yeah.